good morning, or maybe I should say buongiorno. Our plan this morning is to give you an update on the preparation we've been doing for the third Good Shepherd pilgrimage, this time the Way of St. Francis, Via di Francesco, in Umbria, Italy, that we're planning for next year, April 13th to 22nd.
Hey Dick, does everybody know who you are?
Well, I'm Dick Morawski. Okay. I don't, yeah. Mary and I and Brenda Fuentes have been working on this plan for a few months now. And so we're finally ready to present it to the congregation and get your reaction to it. This is what we plan to talk about today. I think there'll be a lot of questions, and I'd ask you to kind of hold your questions, if possible, till the end of the PowerPoint. When we're all done, okay, actually before you leave, we've got a handout that you can take with you to help you decide if you think you can join us this year. It's got all the details that we're covering here. And everything we put on the slides and handouts will also be posted on the church website. We're missing one of our members today of the planning group. Brenda Fuentes was called away to a funeral in Iowa, and so she couldn't be here today. But as you think about whether you want to do this and have questions, please use Mary Adams and me and Brenda as resources to answer all your questions over the next few weeks or so. So a pilgrimage is a special sort of spiritual retreat. It has both a process and a destination. First of all, it takes you away from your normal hectic life and puts you in a totally different environment. The process part of all this is the walking that you do in God's beautiful creation, and it gives you plenty of time to think about your relationship with God, to pray, and focus on your relationship and what your faith means to you. The destination part of a pilgrimage is that we're walking toward a certain place. Over the years in the history of the church, there have been many places that were highlighted as places of spiritual significance in the church. When we did the Camino de Santiago, we walked towards Santiago, which is the burial place of St. James in Spain. Last year, we walked to Holy Island, just off the coast of England, which is a place of very special spiritual significance. This time we're walking toward Assisi, and people have been doing pilgrimages to Assisi for almost 1,000 years. It's another one of those places where God's presence has been especially felt in the past. So, what are the things we considered in planning this particular trip? Well, first of all, it's tough for people to get away, so we chose a time frame of 10 days to a maximum of 2 weeks, including travel time. Italy and Assisi is an especially attractive destination, and so we focused on that. But if we're hiking in Italy, we want to do it when we have good weather. And springtime in Italy is beautiful. But if you go to late June or July, August, it can be unbearably hot. All right. We also wanted well-managed trails. We're looking for a trail length that's doable. We focused on a trail that would be easy to moderate. No mountains, no 15-mile days, and something that would be capable of most of our Good Shepherd pilgrims, because there's a wide range in age and fitness of the level of people who want to be able to go and do it this with us. The next part was that we would like to be able to include more people on these pilgrimages. Last time, even though there were only 19 of us, we had a very difficult time finding places for everybody to stay along the trail. So the good news is that this part of the world has a lot more hotels, bed and breakfasts, that type of thing. The less good news is the fact that this is a very popular vacation place for Italians and other Europeans to come and walk. and they really make it pretty crowded by the time you get to May. Okay? In June, the hilltop town of Spoleto has a world-famous arts festival that runs for about a week to 10 days, and they tend to soak up all the hotel rooms in the vicinity for a while. So that backed us into April, going after Holy Week, because everything in Italy shuts down for Holy Week, but a time when we would have good weather and the chance of having good accommodations for all of the folks who would want to go. We looked at a total of 6 different travel companies that could help us with this, including Max Adventures, which we used for the last one. And in general, they don't handle groups very well. We settled on an English company called JC Journeys. They specialize in doing trips for church groups all over Europe, to holy sites all over Europe and into the Middle East. And they were willing to customize a trip especially for us and be able to accommodate up to about 30 people. So who is St. Francis and why do we care about him? Next one here. We're going to focus on the life and ministry of St. Francis on this particular trip. Many of you know him as the saint who was aligned with nature and so forth. You may know a little bit about his life. He was born to a wealthy family, had a conversion experience, renounced all that, and took up a life of poverty, obedience, chastity, love for fellow people, and even love for his enemies. He not only lived the gospel and taught the gospel and followed Christ, he lived Christ's lifestyle in a very different way. He was a very attractive preacher. I guess you'd say never saw anything like him before. He was someone who preached in the local language. He preached outdoors, preached to both rich and poor, and droves of people followed him while he was around. He attracted a number of other followers, and they spread the gospel throughout Europe. The radical Christianity that he practiced, sort of a back-to-basics Christianity, was influential in making reforms in the church at the time, and he's been very influential down to our present day. So there's a lot we can learn from the life of St. Francis, and we'll be focusing on that during this trip as well. Okay, I'm going to hand it off to Mary now, and she's going to talk more about what it's like to walk with us.
Did she want to go in the lobby maybe?
She was in here, but I saw her heading towards
Yeah, me too with a bag. She's always moving.
So I'm Mary Adams. I think I know nearly everybody. I want to call out, did anybody try the biscotti? Tina made it yesterday?
Yeah.
Cooked it, baked it yesterday.
Recently.
Yeah, she texted me that she was making 2 types, and then when she showed up today, there were 4. So she was on that. And then you mentioned Brenda. She had has a family funeral in Iowa. So she actually put together this PowerPoint. I think she did a beautiful job. And she, right before we began, sent a text that said, "Sorry, I'm not there. Hope it goes great." So just calling out that we really miss Brenda. So what we wanted to do was talk a little bit about what it's like to be on a pilgrimage. And who in the room has gone on a pilgrimage? Come on, put your hand up really high. Okay, so we've got resources in the room if anybody wants to ask about this. Brenda really did a nice job. I mean, it really, every day you're moving, so you kind of learn to pack your suitcase in a way that the stuff all the ladies are going, the stuff you need is on top, and you pull it out in your hotel room and you do the things you need to do in your hotel room. Because first thing, you got to pack that suitcase and get it down into the lobby, because somebody moves that luggage for you every day, which is a delight, but you've got to get that luggage into the lobby so that it can be on its way. So really, the day starts, I'd say, with, take your shower, do your face, do your clothes, pack, and get that thing in the lobby. Eat breakfast, we did a lot of that. We did a lot of that. A lot of us dialed up breakfast because you're spending calories all day long. Pat, you might remember, my sister Pat's in the room from Baltimore. Hi, Pat. No, I mean, one day on my Fitbit, I had 40,000 steps. I mean, so you eat. You really do eat. And you eat whatever you want. I also developed a great love of sweets, a particular kind up in Scotland, and I could eat them like crazy. So you eat breakfast, you pick up your packed lunch. On this particular pilgrimage, they will provide us with lunch every single day. So you don't have to go to like the close by bakery or grocery store, whatever. You have your lunch. And then, actually, there's another step between 2 and 3. Anybody remember what it is?
Use the restroom?
That was really important, but
Shout it out.
we prayed.
We prayed. And they're on both pilgrimages, and I've only been on one, but we learned from the first one, and I was on the second. There's a prayer. And we begin each day with that prayer in our group together. And then we do start to walk. And what's the first hour like, anybody? Silence. So you're with you and the experience and God and your reflections. You might be limping and sore, but you're just with you. And that's a pretty special time of the day. So we had 19 pilgrims on the Cuthbert pilgrimage. We had probably, I'd say on a typical day, about 4 different groups. You had the group that's like, I'm going. Looking at Karen. I'm going, I'm out. Okay, and then you had these people like, I'm keeping up with Karen. Okay. And I mean, you had a group that was like the fast group. And then you had a group that's like, I don't want to do that. I'm a little slower. And then you had that last group. It's like, I'm not going to push it. I'm going at this really, I like this pace. And then what we experienced during the day, and David can tell you this, or during the week, David can tell you this, like, we're like, well, we're usually in this group, so let's kind of switch this day and be with some different people. And that was very precious. So you walk whenever you want, and you'll hear us talk about, there is a tour guide, a guide on this one, not tour guide, a guide. But we could have up to 30 people on this pilgrimage. The guide is a resource, not a constraint. So if your pace is different than the guides, have at it. We're going to have maps and trails and things that we can follow on our phones if we have connections. So you walk whenever you want, and then you have your packed lunch, and you might find a great place to eat lunch. It's beautiful. It's by a river. Let's stop here. You also might find, who was it on Cuthbert? We found a pallet to sit on. And there was a group that sat down on a pallet and ate lunch. And, we were happy to have a place to sit that wasn't on the ground. Then you get up and you walk some more. Maybe you rest. Maybe you get up and walk some more. Maybe you take a break. Maybe you dawdle off to look at something over on the side and you walk some more. And finally, you get there. And people get there. We had a nice, for those who had connections, it was really lovely, but we had a WhatsApp group. And people would say, we made it into town, we're here, join us when you can. And pretty much the first thing that happens when you get into town at that place is you take your boots off because your feet are hurting. And then you're thirsty. Some people had beer, some people had water, some people had fizzy, sweet drinks, whatever. And then we relax, do whatever you want, putz around, hit a store, take a nap, whatever. And then dinner, sometimes it was a big group and sometimes it was subgroups. On this particular one, we'll have to make our own arrangements. So the group that decides to go can decide, well, how do we want to do that? But like Dick said, there are a lot of choices and options of where we eat. And then we also had nightly devotions, and Pastor Pat and Kristen, who helped arrange the first 2, they assigned us duties. We didn't raise our hand. David and I, what did we get, first night? It was rough, okay? It's like, we gotta be ready, okay? So anyway. But they assigned the responsibilities for devotions. And devotions sometimes were maybe 10 minutes and sometimes it was longer. It just all worked out. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is actually what Dick knows more about than I do, but if you Google and look up St. Francis Way, in fact, when Brenda first reached out to the tour company, they're like, well, I guess you're all really seriously good hikers, right? Because this thing takes a month and it's hard hiking. We're like, no. So this is the accessible version. We are just walking 60 miles. We are not doing the highest ups and downs. We will do up and down, and there's some books in the back of the room that have some visuals, some pictures of like how up and down. If Steve was our guy who's like, guys, today it's the really big one, right? He knew. But you can see the terrain. It's, some up and down. My understanding is the Camino was more flat in total. It's described as easy to medium by the people that facilitate these tours. Everybody was able to do it in the Cuthbert group. And there were some serious days where you're like, another hill. Wow, okay, I can do it, right? We had somebody that fell and was all banged up, was on like Advil or Tylenol or something. That person did every single up and down. So it can be done, and yeah, there's prep. We'll talk about that more. And like Dick was pointing out, this is a cooler time of Italy, which we felt was really important. I think in Scotland, it was in June, and there was only one day that I was in a t-shirt. Every other day, there were days where you had 3 layers on to stay warm. But you start hiking and moving, your body heats you up, it's fine. I don't know, what do you think? Is it beautiful looking? This is a beautiful part of the world. If you've never been to Italy, and just start looking at the picture, it's a gorgeous part of the world. Obviously, we're in a part of the world that has a lot of Christian history. Assisi, St. Francis. It's a beautiful place. Dick, next slide. So I want to leave time for Q&A. So this is the thing. So we thought about, but decided not to do any pre-time organized in Rome. So everyone can get to Rome when they want. Perhaps someone's been to Rome and they're like, I've been there, done that, I don't need more time in Rome. Maybe somebody's never been there and oh my gosh, it's Rome. Think of everything you can do in Rome. And Dick is being Dick. He has a number of great and terrific ideas for things to do in Rome. Whatever works for you works for us. What's that?
We spent a lot of time in Italy.
So what would you do in Rome, Dick?
Well, I think all of the time. But there are certain must-see sites like the Colosseum, perhaps the Forum. You have to go to the Vatican Museum, St. Peter's for sure. Those kind of places that are, and you need time to get out and have a gelato and, have a real Italian meal, that type of thing. So you can spend any number of days in Rome that you choose. We kind of recommend that you get there at least a couple of days early to give your baggage a chance to catch up with you. But what you do will be based on what you decide to do and whatever subgroup you decide to organize.
Yeah, and seriously, that thought about get there before the 13th or even the 12th is a real one. We did have on the Cuthbert group 5 people, right, who never got their luggage. How many in the room?
Yeah.
So all these special things that they packed and boots they'd worn in and broken in, not there. We had flight delays. Who had a flight delay on their trip? Somebody, people did. So anyway, we're going to recommend that you definitely don't plan to fly in the morning of, 13th, you're going to miss the bus. The 12th, probably at least the 11th. David and I have a German son that we met through Pastor Larry here at church. And he and his girlfriend and potentially his sister and her boyfriend are going to meet up with us in Rome. So I'm like, oh wow, that's cool, that's Philip and Christine. So but we'll catch a bus and we will go to this town right here. Rome's down here. The bus will take us to here and then we'll begin walking. And you can see this path and the number of miles per day. And then we'll get to Assisi, and we'll have 2 full days in Assisi. And we've walked, we're tired, we're ready for some slower pace. This is a very special place in the world, especially for Christians. Even more probably even for Catholics. And from Assisi, we have an optional day tour. So it's about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes away by bus, a little coach or bus or taxi or whatever, is Laverna. And Laverna is, who can tell me what's in Laverna? Do you know? Sue? Mods? Anybody? Let's guess. St. Francis received his stigmata in Laverna. So that is the mark of the cross on a person. And there are people throughout history who have received this. That is where St. Francis received his. So that is an additional expense. Anybody who joins up, you can look at that, decide whether you want to do it, whether you don't. But that is an optional day that rather than send a second full day in Assisi, somebody can say, I want to go to Laverna. And it is reputedly beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's a monastery up in the mountains.
It's what? Oh, yeah, they did mention that.
You really need a bus to get there. We're not going to walk to this one. It's way up in the mountains, and there's an ancient monastery there as well. So it looks like an interesting trip.
Yeah. Yeah, David can tell you when I'm on mountains on vacations, I kind of clutch the dashboard and close my eyes. I hate it. And it sounds like one of those. So if you don't like heights, you might want to pass. Tim? Oh, can you yell for us?
Why the transfer on the 15th?
Do you hear the question?
Why don't you repeat the question for people?
He asked why we're transferring on the 15th. It's partly because we run out of good places to walk. The trail is not good. You may be on closer to a busy highway. But also there are many more accommodations in Spoleto. And Spoleto is a better place to stay over. So they said, well, we'll pick you up, get you to Spoleto, and you walk on from there.
How far the walk is it?
Not sure right offhand. In some places, there's not a good path, not a safe path either. So we could check that out, but if they're going to provide a transport, I'm ready to go.
By the way, we do have a tour, a Zoom lined up with the tour company for this week. So if there's any question that you have that we can't answer, we have an opportunity to talk with them live this week and we'll get the answer. So that's that. I mentioned before the guides. So the previous groups did not have guides, and we were quoted a price with and without a guide. And we told it about the pros and the cons and all of that. And then the St. Cuthbert group on one of our get-togethers after the pilgrimage had the opportunity to kind of talk about that idea of having a guide versus not. And I have it in that pack back there. But anyway, like overwhelmingly, maybe there was one or two people who said, I don't want a guide. Overwhelmingly, everybody else said, let's do the guide because it's a different language. Last time we had somebody get hurt and was on the trail for 6 hours until we got medical support. Luckily, we had a doctor in the group. And they just know things. I mean, if you've ever traveled around and you go someplace and you look, oh, I learned this. Well, when you have a guide, you learn this much. And so we just thought for the differential in the price, it's just let's do it. And the language, and their phone's going to work, right? Your phone might not. When they get the person who speaks Italian at the other end of the line, they're probably going to be really good talking with that person. Us, probably not. Well, we do have Italian speakers, we think, in the mix, but it's just not the same. So it is a guide. And again, like we said, we don't have to stay with the guide. In fact, there's no way 30 people, if that's what the number is, can stay with one guide. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Next slide. So here is our cost. Everything has been quoted to us in pounds because in British pound sterling because the tour company is in the UK. When you see the booking form, you will see prices in pounds. So what we've done is when we made the PowerPoint and we set the registration amount, we looked at current value of US versus British pound and we set the numbers. It could swing. I mean, that is what it is. But once you pay, then you're paid. So what's included is all of these things you see. Hotel, breakfast, packed lunches, guide, half-day walking tour of that day one in Assisi. Forgot about that one. They will move our luggage for us. Ground transportation to and from Rome. So the beginning of the trip, it's Rome to the first town, whichever that is. Pick that one. But yeah. And then from Assisi back to Rome. Okay, so that's all covered. And I don't know, I think some people do. Oh, we have, the guide is available as a resource. So let's say at 9 o'clock at night, there's something, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that wrong. The guide is a resource to us all day long. And we have off-hour support through the UK team. And I'll bet you it's going to be through the guide too. There's some need. So we have 24/7 support from the JC Journey staff in time zone. Okay. What is not included is airfare to and from Rome. You know, what we found, at least I assume Camino was similar. People want to take their own route. I like this flight, it works on my schedule, this is a better price, I scouted around, I found this, I'm meeting up with our German son and his girlfriend, whatever. You do your own airfare, whatever works for you. Travel insurance is not included. Dinners, all dinners are on us. And like any snacks that you're gonna put in your bag beyond lunch would be on you. A lot of people brought bags. I had like 4-gallon bags full of seasoned nuts and like brought 2 of them home or something like that. I kind of overpacked on the snacks. But, and then lunch in 2 days where we are moving during lunchtime, and then anything you do in Rome, and then that optional visit. So that's not included. Let's go to the next, and then we'll open up for questions. So here we are. We have, do you want to put these on the back table, make people wear them, or do you want to hand them out?
Oh.
Whatever, Dick's in charge. We have a one-pager that kind of gives you a highlight of this information and what to do if you want to sign up. Sign-ups first come, first serve. Maybe we're not going to have 30 people sign up, but in the event 35 people are interested, we're going to do first come, first served on the sign-up online. And what you do to sign up is you take this booking form, which Dick is giving you a hard copy of it. You fill it out, and you scan it or take a picture of it, okay? Then you go to this website. It's a little Google Doc right here. And this is also on the Good Shepherd events page. There's an event on the Good Shepherd's website about this pilgrimage. This link is on that page. But you fill out the form, and you fill it out, the JC Journey form in paper. You got to scan or copy. Then you go online to the Google form, complete it, and upload the picture or scan that you did of the booking form. Okay? If you have any trouble with the uploading, if you don't have a Google account, for example, and it just will let you, you can email the form to me and I'll come collect it that way. We prefer that they all be in one place, but if you send it to me, I'll get it to that place, no worries. And then you send your deposit to Pastor Pat, and once your deposit is received by Pastor Pat, you're registered. Okay, up to 30 people, and the RSVPs are due by the end of April on a first come, first served basis. And the reason that is so that we can then get the money over to the tour company and they can completely 100% book us, which means they reserve our hotels and all of this. Yes, ma'am.
It looks like on this form, we just do the deposit when we put in, but it looks like you're asking for the deposit. You're asking for the deposit, but the form also says you have to already have your insurance, or would you do your insurance when you paid the balance?
Oh, they're just asking for insurance. So when I did ours, I wrote our health care. Because if you read the fine print, they're talking about if you have a medical problem, they want to know you have health coverage.
Okay.
Out of country.
Travel insurance is a personal choice.
Yeah.
Strongly
It said
recommend that you have
required on
something.
there.
Well,
Okay. Well,
Good.
remember Max made us buy, Max we had approved the other insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, and then on the one pager that Dick handed out, you've got our emails there. Again, you've got a team of Brenda and Dick and me that have been working on this. Any of us know, I mean, Dick is kind of our expert on the path. I'm kind of our expert on like working with JC Journeys, and Brenda's our beautiful PowerPoint expert and hard question answer. It's like, oh, good question. We'll go find that one out. So anyway, we're a good team. We know it all. We're pretty equal on that. And if one of us don't know, we'll reach out to the others. So is that the last slide?
Talk about getting ready.
Oh yeah, let's talk about trip preparation. So we've already talked about fill out the Google Doc, upload your completed form, send your check in. Oh, this is written on your sheet, but make your check out to Good Shepherd. And then once we have all the funds, Good Shepherd will move the money to the UK and the tour crew company. After April 30th, we will begin to develop our community of pilgrims for this pilgrimage. We did have I had a fun idea this morning. I don't know if it's hit your radar, but downtown in Findlay Market, there's a lady that makes gelato. Have you? Yeah, she's in gelato making competitions, and she passed like the regional one?
I'm
Something.
not sure, but it's really good.
She's going to have you had it? Have you had it?
What?
Have you had her gelato?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So like, for example, one day when it's still hot outside, we might all decide to go down to Findlay Market and have gelato together and talk about something related to the pilgrimage. We have not, Pastor Pat being silly one day said we could have a toga party. We could. But we will start this to build our community, begin to know each other better, to prepare for the trip, both relationship-wise, faith-wise. I think at one of the St. Cuthbert meetings, we kind of wrote out our hopes for the pilgrimage. And Pastor Pat said, okay, put it in an envelope, seal it, give it to me, and then she mailed them to us. What, like before the journey, I guess, after, okay. She should have reminded me what I'd said going into. No, but I mean, so we'll do all kinds of things. We'll get ready as a community. We'll create our new community. And then we have a tentative date reserved for June 4th for our first meeting, and Dick and friend to be determined. We'll just, in that one, talk about who was St. Francis. You know, how did he live his life? How did he get to this point in his life of becoming a saint? What did he do? Who did he engage? How many orders did he found? I think it's 3. I think he founded 3 orders.
Three
Yeah,
orders. And
yeah.
then there's
There's a film that Dick found. It's really good. Yeah.
There are 3 orders that have been sustained down through the years, and he also was instrumental in founding the Poor Sisters of St. Clair, which is a woman's order, but we'll also learn about that. Their headquarters is also in Assisi.
Yeah, so that's that. And the only reason we say tentative is maybe when we get everybody signed up, like 70% of the people say that's a bad date for me. So we've got the room, we've got the plan. If we have to change it, we'll change it. And then the other prep, obviously, is start walking. I don't know how early people started walking to prepare. I don't know. But whatever you need to do, I don't know how much people walk going in. I mean, if you're not a walker now, doesn't mean you can't be. Doesn't mean you can't get ready, right? So that's kind of that. Anything else? Yeah, so we want to open up. It's 10:45. Anything else we could talk about that would be helpful? Yes, Tim. And try to yell if you don't mind. I don't hear well, that's my problem.
It doesn't have anything about refunds. Is that included in the cancellation? The insurance is supposed to purchase.
Repeat the question, please.
Yeah, he asked about refunds if you have something occur that caused you to cancel at the last minute. And there is a refund schedule. We don't have this at the moment. We'll get that from them this coming week. Their intent is to give you back as much as possible within a time frame up to where they can no longer cancel the room reservations. That seems to be the limiter. So we'll get that from them more specifically this week and pass that out. As
a follow-up to that question.
Yeah.
It doesn't specify the cancellation insurance that you need to purchase. Is there a specification they offer that's a minimum required
By the tour group? Is there a minimum to the insurance coverage?
It just gives you a broad definition. Your insurance must include full cancellation as a minimum coverage. What does that mean? Emergency medical registration, personal liability, not in the country. What does that mean? Is there certain limits on that? They're asking us to purchase the insurance and to meet the minimum. What is that?
I think these things are personal choices. If you've traveled before, you may have a feel for how a particular travel insurance that you go with, all right? They ask that you have travel insurance, okay? But we're Americans. This is your choice into exactly what you do, all right? They're not going to stop you from going.
And they don't require, we don't believe they'll require proof of insurance.
Correct.
I just reread this thing, and it says, if you don't, you're accepting responsibility that you're liable. So I think it's like most trip insurance, like you said, it's a personal choice, and they're just asking, they're telling you to get it and saying, and if you don't, by the way, like most,
It's on you.
That's common with most of the travel companies. You're liable.
Yeah, you can pay one way or another.
Other questions, please.
Wait,
Okay.
sorry, Tim, because he had a second question, so I waited. The other thing I wanted to, that you reminded me of is the Google Doc, Google form where you can sign up. It's not going to cut off at 30. So one idea we explored was, we're still 13 months away from April 24th. So let's say somebody wants to, puts in their deposit, they're in the community, and life happens. Well, we could have a waiting list. So maybe I can swap out, but somebody else can swap in on my place because we still got a seat on the bus. So we'll see how the RSVP goes, but maybe there's somebody who didn't get in and they're, the person's very sad that now they can't go, but it creates an opportunity for somebody else. So we're thinking we could keep a waiting list. Other questions?
You said the Google Doc is just a is it just a list of people who want to go, or are you saying?
My ears are hard.
Sorry, the Google Doc is just a sign up, or we have to, if we fill that out, we still need to upload something?
Well,
It's
essentially a sign-up list.
Mary. So kind of a little bit.
They're asking about the Google Doc. Okay.
Oh, well, let's, we should have thought about having it up for us. It's a real simple form. I don't know if you want to try to get it
You
up.
fill out the Google Doc and then you have to upload that page that was just the application. You have to upload that.
Yeah, so the Google Doc is for Good
There's a place in
Shepherd.
it,
Yeah,
and it says add file.
yeah. The Google Doc, the Google form,
I'm trying to
is a way for Good Shepherd people to RSVP. The booking form is a way for you to officially register with JC Journeys. So when you RSVP with Good Shepherd, you are also completing a form that we will need to send to JC Journeys. Does that answer the question? Or Jean?
It's his question, but it kind of, that was a little question for me. So all of this can be done electronically?
Yeah.
This, I don't need to scan it, I can just.
Or a picture,
Well, you
or
can take a picture of it with your phone,
Yeah.
or if you've got a scanner on your phone,
Right.
and then there's a place to add the file. So you just
But
have
you
to know.
can you get the file electronically?
Oh,
or you
yeah.
have to go that extra step of taking a picture and then,
Oh,
you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Can you?
yes, good question.
But
And
you-
then
I actually didn't test
that
it.
too.
So Jean, if you can show us
I've
the
got the
form,
form up, but
and then I'm gonna go to answer your question, because there's another way to do it. I'll show it.
Good form, but I don't know how to make it switch.
The other way is there is an events page on the Good Shepherd website about this. This form lives there digitally, and you should be able to download it, and if you have PDFs software on your
PDF
computer,
and then attach it to whatever.
Complete
without
it.
going that extra
If you have a
step.
way to
and
sign
we can
it,
look at
yes.
that, Jean.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll take a typed
It
signature
involves
or not.
us,
Yeah, we'll show it.
But we also have to deliver a check to church.
I'm
The
sorry,
check-
this room eats
I know,
noise.
but the check needs to come to church.
Church.
That cannot be electronic.
Correct. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and if somebody doesn't do checks anymore, is anybody in that situation? No checks? You don't write checks anymore?
Can you do it through Realm?
We can tell her.
Oh, you could do Realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do Realm. You can make the deposit. It does not have to be a physical check. Good, thank you. Yeah. You just need to get your money to Pastor Pat. And the only reason we're doing that is because we need to get everything over to the UK to reserve. So they begin to reserve our hotels. It's not the bus, it's the hotels. Do you want to do? Just go out to the browser and go to the, go out of the browser and go to the Good Shepherd website. And we,
Well, then, I've got the form. I
Okay.
can't get it.
oh, okay. If anybody wants to look at the Google form and you need to leave, we do have it on the PCs, just trying to figure out how to project it. Hey, thanks for coming. All right, while he works on that, any other questions? Comments from anybody who's done a pilgrimage? You want to say something?
Packing your carry-on
Are you
bag.
shy?
No, pack everything in a carry-on bag.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So pack things in a carry-on bag that you know you must have when you get there, because luggage got lost in the Edinburgh airport and traveled around the world, and for a lot of people, they never got it till they got home. Yours was the last, or yours was the last? How long after the trip did you get yours?
About 30 days from.
Oh, my goodness.
Arrived in Edinburgh.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
here's
bad.
another thought. I did a ride out into the Canadian Rockies years ago, and you were only allowed one bag. Because we packed everything out on mules, but we packed everything, food, tents, whatever. So in the theme of St. Francis, you'd be surprised how little you really need in life.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, some people are more ready to take that dive than others.
Yes.
And if anybody's wondering who that is, that's my sister Pat. She's visiting this
sound
weekend
like-
from Baltimore. And she has change coming in her life, right?
Yes.
She's moving to Cincinnati this summer.
Oh, wow.
So she's here this weekend
Retiring
visiting.
from Johns Hopkins Medicine. I'll work here as a nurse, but yes, I'm writing a new chapter for sure. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Are you a Mac guy?
A what?
A Mac guy?
No.
Okay, so that's the problem. So any other comments, questions? Thank you, that was a really good one.
But also probably the company will require us to have one suitcase per person to move.
Oh, good, yes, good. Don't, well, plus,
40-pound suitcase.
because you don't want more than one.
Right.
I mean, some of these places, y'all, we were on the 3rd floor, and I was gonna say we had to get our bags down to the lobby, but actually I never did, thank you, David. But I mean, you do not want, you wanna be as small as you can be, and you want one. Backpacking one is my advice. Good point. Other comments? So I'd love like a show of hands. Who's like maybe interested in this? Maybe. Okay. What is that?
I want my husband to come, but I have to convince him.
Okay, this is Karen's hand. This is Karen's hand. Where's Mike's hand? Mike's hand is here. All right. Hey, we're gonna hang around. Did you have anything more?
No.
We're gonna hang around for a bit, right? If you have any questions, if you want to look at that form with Gene, he's got it on the computer up there. Otherwise, let's wrap. And thanks for coming.